I'm excited to have Dr. Nic Bongers here from Oakland University. He's the Director of Instructional Design. Nic, welcome.
Thanks, and that's Oakland University in Metro Detroit. A lot of people confuse Oakland University for Oakland, California.
Great clarification. Thank you for adding that. And before we dig into any of the big stuff, could you just give listeners a quick 30-second version of who you are and what you're doing right now?
Sure. I've been at Oakland University for 17 years as an instructional designer. My Master of Fine Arts degree is in graphic design, so I kind of came from a background of graphic design, taught in higher education, graphic design courses at the community college level and some at the university level, while I was always as an instructional designer staff. My Master of Fine Arts degree was earned online, entirely online. So that allowed me, I believe, to know both sides of the desk, the teacher side and the student side of online learning. So as an instructional designer, I can speak as an online instructor, as an online student, and as an instructional designer, which I think sharpens my tools very nicely when I talk to faculty or students or even other staff. Before working in higher ed, I was working at ad agencies, sign shops, even a map company as a graphic designer. And what I found was I was always training the new employees. And I thought to myself, I'm really good at this. And a lot of my professors in college, especially at the undergrad level, were like mentors to me. And I felt very close to them. I thought, I want to do that. And that's what kind of prompted me in the direction of the MFA. As an employee of Oakland University, the benefits are great. They will pay for some of your tuition as long as you're getting your degree from Oakland. So I pursued a PhD in educational leadership that I earned in 2017. And I learned a lot about higher ed administration and a lot of like full-time faculty that would want to be like a chair, a dean, or kind of go up the ladder in that way. And campus administration would have a degree like this. But I'm finding there's advantages to the degree in the instructional design position role too, in terms of growing online programs or helping with the design of new online programs and just kind of knowing more about how a university works. So that's a bit of my background and where I sit today.
That's awesome. I actually also got a master's degree largely online. Mine was mostly online because of the pandemic, not because it was all that intentional, but I do know what you mean. It really helps to kind of have gone through it yourself too and see some of the pros and cons to getting a degree online.
Yeah, this was back in 2006, so it was a lot lower technology wise than what it is today. I'm glad it was nice to be done way back then as well, like to be one of the first master's online students to go through that process and on the cusp of Zoom and all those other technologies that kind of came to light since 2010.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you think about your Director of Instructional Design role right now, what is the main problem you would say you're trying to solve with your day-to-day work?
The main problem today is the American with Disabilities Act Title II regulations. So those are going to be enacted in April of 2026. And anything digital that's created and accessed by anybody needs that digital content to be accessible. So this is putting all of our faculty into a mode where they have to remediate a lot of their existing files, which includes their videos. It's just not enough to have an auto transcript anymore. It has to be verified accurate. There's a lot of concern that it's just too much work for a faculty to fix. My instructional design team is very small at this campus. We have around a 16 to 20,000 enrollment at this university. My instructional design team is 3 people. So we can teach them how to fish. We can't do a lot of the fishing for them. So we've prepared online training and help documents and visiting departments, doing workshops, and trying to figure out the best process for faculty to help with their files. In some cases, we can do some fixing, but we can't help everybody because we're a little bit shorthanded. But it's been interesting to kind of tackle these new ADA accessibility regulations because some folks from my university, Dan Arnold and Christina Moore, we tackled digital accessibility awareness back in 2017. We were just telling people this is a best practice. Like you want your content to be accessible to everybody. And now that it's a federal regulation, a lot of people are treating this like it's new. And I'm like, new? Ha, we've been looking at this for 8 years. It's just now becoming a federal regulation. So I feel like we were in a very unique position to put people in the right direction and polish some of our digital accessibility standards and processes to be more digestible for the greater audience that we kind of have the campus's ear now in terms of what they need to do and how soon they need to do it. Before that, we were doing a lot of experimentation with AI, and one of my colleagues dove headfirst into the AI stuff. I had to take a detour into the ADA stuff.
That's kind of a gargantuan task, right? To make everything that you have online accessible.
Yeah, I mean, even as a faculty, so I teach a couple classes here and there, and as a person who considers himself a champion of digital accessibility, I still have stuff that's not accessible, and I'm the first person to admit it. In fact, there were some ADA standards that I disagreed with, and I joke around about this, but it's true. Every time I do a link in a course, I prefer that link to open up in a new tab, because I'm the kind of person that has a browser with a million tabs open, but they're organized in my logical way. The ADA requirement is that unless it says opens in a new window, that link should open up in the same window, because for an accessibility purpose, you should be able to click the back button to go back to where you were before you clicked on that link. So in order to fulfill the ADA requirement, I updated my links. I waved the white flag. I have the link open up in the same window, but I remembered that I can always right click on that link and have that open up in a new tab to fulfill my personal preference.
That's interesting. I did not know that was actually one of the requirements. So you are going through all of your links, and I'm sure all the faculty members at your school are going through all of their links, all of their images to add alt text, all of their colors to make sure that the contrast is there. How are you all doing this? Have you found any good flows or any good tips or tricks that'll make it happen?
We created an online training that features 3 main silos, and where it doesn't quite get into the weeds as you're suggesting, it kind of goes into the categorical fixes you need to make. So the first part is like the quickest and easiest, and we hope that builds momentum to finish the rest of it. And the last part is like the hardest and the most time consuming. So the online training that we created basically features, the first silo is basically fixing your main course page. So if you teach an online course, you're fixing your course page. You make sure that like the links are fixed, and there's like an accessibility checker for an LMS course page. So whether your learning management system is Moodle or Blackboard or D2L or Canvas, they all have these built-in accessibility checkers. So number one, you run through that, and a lot of those things automatically fix. So it's not like you even have to manually fix a lot of these things. It can do some of the work for you. So you take care of that. Okay, cool. Now what's next? The next thing is fixing your files. So if you have the files on your computer, whatever native file that is has the accessibility checkers built right in, and you run the accessibility checkers that's built right, like if it's a Word document, Microsoft has a very good accessibility checker. It tells you what to fix and why to fix it and how to fix it. So you run through all your files, you fix all your files, and you have to re-upload them into your system. And then what's left is, the big dark horse that everybody fears, and that's the accurate captions and transcripts for all your videos. So you need to just verify that what you have is accurate. And then it's simple in concept, right? It's just time consuming. But those are like the 3 big pillars of accessibility for online teaching is if you can wrap your head around it and you can just eat the elephant one bite at a time, it's a pretty easy process. It just happens to be more or less depending on how many files you have, how many videos you have, and on down the road.
So this sounds like something where if it were me, and I have known for the last several years that I should be doing this, but I haven't been doing it, I would be kicking myself thinking if only I had done it from the get-go. I wouldn't have to be going back through now. When you were thinking about designing your new courses, how are you keeping accessibility in mind? And what are some ways you think that y'all are innovating in making accessible online courses?
I liken this question to where we were in 1993. So I grew up with computers in the house, but in 84, it was like the Apple IIe. But I remember like in 92 or 93, we got a computer with Windows 3.1. And the printer was a dot matrix printer that went, "Nyeh, nyeh," and it had the holes on each side that you had to like tear off. And one of the things that Microsoft Word did not have was an automatic spell checker. So you had to remember as a grade school kid that before you printed out your 3-page paper on the ball python, that you needed to run the spell checker. And before you quit, you had to automatically save too. Or you had to click file and save, or you click on the spell checker. And we're in a mode right now in the year 2025 where it doesn't automatically check the accessibility. So I just take myself back to my 12-year-old self thinking I have to check the accessibility before I publish this or before I save it somewhere. But on the bright side of things, or in terms of my habits and my knowledge, I've been knee deep in accessibility for so many years that I know to create heading styles for navigability. I know to do alt text if it's an educational image. And it kind of goes back to the Mandalorian, like this is the way. So once you wrap your head around the concepts of accessibility, and you know that remediation of your old files takes so much time, you don't want to fix files for the rest of your life. So you're going to start making your files, your new files, with accessibility in mind. And you're just kind of high-fiving your 12-year-old self like we did it. It's the same process. It's just something a little different, but we know what we're doing.
That makes sense. If you broaden the definition of accessibility past what necessarily has to be covered in these guidelines, so past the things like opening in a new tab, when you think about the online courses that you're designing, how are you bringing some of those principles into the learning design of these courses in general?
A lot of it is collaborative with faculty. So if they got a head start on the development of it, a lot of it is checking it. But I think that you can kind of gauge the personality and style of an instructor, and you can kind of get a base level inclination on how much accessibility you need to accentuate in their course. Because some people are like, they're not going to need a lot of hand holding in ADA concepts. Other ones, they just want to turn and burn, and you're kind of like, okay, we need to remediate some of this, and I need to teach you when you make new files that you need to kind of do this or that. So a lot of online courses are kind of representative of the style of the faculty who's teaching it. And as instructional designers, I believe in kind of taking myself and my own style and my own identity out of that course. So, and I try and pride myself as a graphic designer or an instructional designer, that when a learner or a viewer looks at something, they see the personality and style of the instructor and not of me. So I can kind of be the muse to inspire them to do certain things, but when students take it, it's got the instructor's name and style written all over it. So to figure out how ADA standards fits within that is kind of like my unique approach to course development.
Mm-hmm. And when you go outside of just the ADA requirements and the accessibility work that is obviously the biggest thing that needs to happen right now, it sounds like y'all are close, right? In a couple of months, you'll have all these fully accessible courses. Outside of that, what else would you say that Oakland University is doing really well with online learning right now?
Well, since the pandemic, actually, I should kind of go back since the pandemic, because I'm trying to spread more awareness of instructional design services. And the first experience that a lot of faculty on our campus had with instructional designers was via the pandemic. And they essentially had to compromise their course materials to get through the rest of that winter semester. So the pandemic, happened in March. They just wanted to live through April, teach me how to live online. And we got them through it successfully. What happened was the people that don't know how to teach online, or maybe that was their only experience or their first experience teaching online, got the false impression that that's what online teaching should be. And it's not. And I tell people to kind of free themselves of that brainwashing. I like to say, well, it was like I was teaching you how to hunt squirrels and cook them over a campfire. I would much rather teach you how to set a table, have an appetizer, do the soup, salad, main course, entree, and have a dessert. And then, you know what I mean? I'd like to have a full course meal, nice and lavish. Wouldn't you rather eat that than a squirrel over a campfire? That's the difference between the survival of pandemic learning versus the potential of online learning. And AI, I think, has only elevated that notion that what it could be, borders the ends of your imagination. It just takes the time to develop it and accomplish what you're looking for.
Do you think it's possible for online learning to like meet the same promise as an in-person classroom?
I believe it can exceed it.
Okay, can you tell me why?
I like the contact. So when I teach in person, the students that I talk to hang out after class and they want to run something by me. But that's a minority of the students that take my class. When I teach online, my students have 24-hour access to me, and if they don't use that, um, they're not taking full advantage. When I was a master's degree student, all of my professors had my cell phone number. And week one of the semester, they would call me on the phone and I would have a conversation. So even though my master's program was asynchronous, fully online, I knew the voice of my instructors and I knew I could call them. So my access to my master's degree professors was more often and better than if I would have just went to a campus, sat for class, and left again. So and again, it goes back to the style. If I'm working with an instructor that has widespread availability and loves talking to people, that's going to shine through their courses, and they will have more collaboration with their students. But it's also in the way that they create their activities too. Where at the doctorate level at our university, I know that there's a lot of instructors that will assign them to meet with them in their virtual office hours. So I could be the instructor and you could be the student, and I can say, okay, great. What brought you to this class? What inspires you about this class? Like, where do you see yourself? What are your goals? How much of your potential in this class do you want to reach? Or what are you thinking about for a project? And it's not in class and it's during office hours, but maybe it's an assignment where you get credit for coming. But it breaks that wall between the student and the instructor. So that I have a vested interest in your success, not just in your class, but in your degree and in your career. And once you see that clicks with students, now they're bought into the class. Now they're engaging more. And because of that effort you give in the online environment that isn't quite always matched in a face-to-face environment, I believe that can give many advantages over face-to-face teaching.
That's interesting. That's a really good argument for why online can be even more impactful. One question that I have on it, because that is so dependent on the instructor's time and their availability and their like willingness and all that, that seems to me to be a little bit at odds with scale, right? If you need the professor to be able to be around, able to make all these calls, and they fundamentally cannot have too many people in their classes. How do you think about scale online and keeping that aspect of the quality?
When you say scale, do you mean I could be an online teacher with like 100 students? Or do you think, or is it from this perspective of like I'm teaching six classes and there's 20 students in each class, that's 120 students?
That's a good question. Either way, I think that a lot of institutions right now are kind of in the boat where higher ed enrollment overall in in-person courses is declining. And I think a lot of institutions are looking at online as a way to get more students to be able to kind of grow that presence. And so when you think about ways that Oakland University can grow, how is that going to function with trying to keep these online courses having such high touch points?
Yeah, I personally believe that 20 students is like a magic number for an online class. And folks that have more than that need to make adjustments in some way. There's best practices for those adjustments. Um, but everybody knows that like the psychology 101 course that has 120 students, those faculty should be entitled to TAs. Um, and especially in the online format, an online instructor can actually put in a grading sheet what the TA should look for when they grade. And it's really advantageous over a face-to-face class because those TAs can grade more efficiently with those notes. Um, but I will say that the workload personally between teaching online and teaching face-to-face is kind of moot because I'm teaching face-to-face right now, and I live in what I call a paper-free face-to-face classroom. So I'm not doing any handouts. It's all online. They've got 24-hour access to it. All their assignments they turn in online. So we do in-class activities. Those in-class activities are linked on our Moodle LMS, but they're Google Docs. So they do collaborative activities via a link that I created in Google Docs. There's nothing to turn in from the group assignment. They just have the link, they participate, and I have it. So it's a lot less work than standing at the copy machine, making copies, having them write their name on it, having them turn it in. When it comes time for me to grade that stuff, I'll leave it in my office or my car, or I'll leave it at home. I'll never grade it. So having a paper-free classroom in a face-to-face environment is great, but it's also pandemic-proof. So in the moment I need to pivot to online, I'm not compromising any of my activities because I already have it good to go. So asking myself as an instructional designer how I can weigh scale between teaching online and teaching face to face. I see there's enough overlap where I would kind of treat them the same at this point.
That makes sense. Also, I really hope that you don't have to make it pandemic proof.
I hope that for everybody.
Very much hoping that that is behind us. But when you're doing this, and you mentioned AI earlier, and I know there's all these new technologies that are coming out. If you could run any experiments in the next course that you're designing, what are you experimenting with?
Experiments. So the course that I'm teaching right now is called The History and Ethics of Hunting. So I grew up as a deer hunter. It's a family thing. And I created the course, proposed it to our honors college, and they accepted it as a Western Civilizations general education course. And it's a very challenging course because it's not graphic design or instructional design. It's just something that's kind of like a passion of mine outside of work. And my class is very bought into it. I feature a lot of videos and things. Out of, let's say, the 20 students I have, 2 of them are hunters, 2 of them are anti-hunters, and the rest of them are just kind of curious. So one of the experiments that you just inspired me to do by this question is I would like to investigate some 3D goggle experiences where maybe they go like virtual hunting. And I think that would be a very useful experience for them if you could find some. There's also some AI things that I'm trying to build in the class. So one of the things that I'm passionate about since the last year about AI and before ADA kind of derailed my focus was trying to integrate AI into the classroom, because one of the important things it is for my instructional design team is to kind of dilute some of the taboo of AI, because the first thing that came across everyone's desk was, oh, the students are cheating. And when Google came out in the early 2000s, everybody thought the students were cheating. Oh, there's Googling everything.
Same with spell check.
Right. Seems to be, the student knows how to spell now. I mean, so what I found was that you need to use AI in a productive way so the students can learn with it and not cheat with it. It's the difference between turning your brain off and having it do the work for you, or having it help you challenge your brain. So how do you do that? There is a link, and you can Google it. But if you go to the AI assessment scale, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it basically draws almost like a pyramid of AI use. So on day one of my class, even this hunting class, I asked everybody, how much do you like using AI? And they're like, well, you can. And I wanted feedback essentially. What do you think? What are your perspectives on using AI? And they said, well, you can use it to write your paper, but it's not going to be a great paper. Or, and these are honors college students, so these are like the cream of the crop anyway. They want to do the work. Um, or they would say, it, some people use it to cheat, but we just use it to like they were vague, but they were kind of lukewarm on the idea. They weren't like licking their chops, like, yeah, we want to use AI in this class. Well, what can we do? Let's use it for everything. And they weren't just like, nope, it's crap. We don't want to use it at all. They were kind of in the middle.
Okay.
So I told them that's great because every time we do an activity, I'm going to be referencing this AI assessment scale. And 0 means, forbidden use. I don't want you to use it at all. And 4 is using it to as a guide on the side. And level 5 is like creating new knowledge using AI. But level 1 or level 2 is like maybe using it to edit because everybody's like Grammarly is an AI. It'll change how your sentences are structured and stuff, but you're still saying the same thing. So they were very much in support of that. And it also tells me as an instructor, it frees me up because now I can tell them the level of expectations I have with using AI, and it gets us both on the same page. And it kind of puts the students on their honor that, this is the level that you're expected to use AI. And if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, these are the borderlines not to cross. And, they respect that because you're being transparent with them.
I like that. It's really clear expectations. It's almost like telling them you should use a calculator on this, or I want you to try it without.
Right.
How do you use AI, and do you model for them any ways that you're doing it in crafting the course?
I have been using AI with a plugin that's built into Moodle called H5P. And H5P is an authorware that can create interactive elements. Let's say that you have a list of terms and a list of definitions that match, and you want to make a crossword puzzle. You can upload a Word document that has the definition and the term, and it can make you a crossword puzzle based off of that. But it can do a little bit more. So if you have a case study and you want to upload that case study to this smart import feature, the AI can take out the key concepts, it can take out the key terminology, and it can make you a quiz, it can make you a drag and drop keyword paragraph, it can make you the crossword puzzle that I mentioned, and it can make a bunch of different like flashcards and different things to help the students practice. So as an instructional designer, one of the things that I hear a lot from both faculty and students, frankly, is that the students want to practice on stuff, but they don't want to be marked down for getting it wrong. And that could be, and I can't measure this, there's no studies that I'm aware of, but that could be why students cheat. They want to get full credit. They want to get the A, but they also want to learn. So I figure that creating interactive elements that don't count for anything, just for them to practice, will allow them to learn better because they don't have the pressure of getting all the points or not. That's not to say that H5P can't be graded. You can certainly grade it, but if you want to practice on something, having something interactive is always more fun than just reading a static, boring PDF case study. So it can take PDFs, it can take a YouTube video, and it can have that YouTube video pause and pop up quiz questions. So now you're not just passively watching a video; you're watching it and answering the questions as you go. Image hotspots, it can do a bunch of just really interactive things that is easy for a faculty to develop on their own, but our ID team is really championing using it for faculty and helping polish or improve their courses.
That makes sense. What is something that you've tried, like when you've ever tried working with AI or anything like that, that has not worked, that made you think, ooh, I'm never going to try that again. We'll be moving on to other things?
what's the image generator? Is it Dolly?
Uh-huh.
I used it 4 years ago, and if you wanted to create a person, the person had like 3 eyeballs and 7 fingers, and it was bad.
Have you come back to it?
It's a lot better now.
Okay.
It's a lot
Okay,
better
so
now.
it's taken you off forever. You just were off of that model.
Yeah, but I guess AI always seems to be improving.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's I guess it's less of the things that I didn't like and wouldn't use anymore, and more of the data that I wouldn't want to put into it. So you become a lot more guarded about where that information is being shared and the data stewards and how your actual AI account is being set up. So you know just inherently that you're not giving any sensitive information and that you're being responsible in the data that you're prompting it with.
Yeah. For anyone who's not trying to use any AI in their courses, I'm sure there are some faculty members at your school who are maybe less excited about it than you are. What do you think is the risk of not trying it and not experimenting with AI in your courses or with any of the other new technologies that have been coming out, like
Right.
the headsets and all of that?
We talk to those faculty as well, and the angle that they're coming to us from is trying to catch people. It's what we call like the gotcha mentality. They want to catch their students using AI as cheaters, basically, and to fail them. And there's a product that we use that has an AI detector built into it. However, we tell faculty to take that with a grain of salt because there are false positives
Yeah.
with that detection, and it's overall it's a great tool. But the AI detection we have turned off by default, and the faculty have to manually turn it on because it's a plagiarism checker. So it is a great product, but it can lead faculty down the wrong path of trying to identify AI users that are cheating. So the the folks that are concerned with that have these assignments, and when I sit down with them, they're like, "Well, I'm afraid my students are using AI for this assignment." And I said, "Well, how do you know? Have you ever went to AI and tried to do your own assignment with AI?" And they almost like scoff, like, "Oh dear God, no! I would." I'm like, "Well, let's try it. Let's just jump into it." To go, they're afraid it's like taboo, and we go to AI, we type in the assignment, and sometimes they just kind of look at it saying, "Yeah, this isn't that great,"
Hmm.
or and in the rare cases when it hits the nail right on the head, they say, "Oh my God, this is terrible." And I said, "Okay, now this is where we ask AI to improve the quality of your assignment to prevent students from being able to use AI to successfully answer your assignment." And they go, "You can do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can
That's
ask AI
clever.
anything." And that's when the doors open and they say, "Oh, I can use AI now for my teaching." They start to understand what how to use AI almost against itself to accomplish their goals. And when they came in the door, they were kind of anti AI, but when they leave, they're more curious.
Yeah, I think if the students are using it, then the instructors need to at least know about it, right? At least like have wrapped their minds around it, have some kind of idea about how they're going to help mentor their students through what technology to use.
Right. And playing with it, just like anything, people, you get better the more time you spend in something. And, educators, well, especially educators, we shouldn't be afraid to discover things, especially if our students are in those environments too. We should be able to meet them where they are. And if you ever wonder if AI can do something for you or against you, the best way to test it is to go straight to AI and try it.
Yeah. So I do want to close with if you were to think about something that you want AI to do for you that's maybe not there yet. So we're 4 years ago and it's making humans with 4 eyeballs. Um, what is something that you are looking forward to that you hope is going to be developed in the next 5 years, and how would it impact your courses? You can say anything except a magic wand to fix accessibility.
That's a great question, but I do have an answer.
Okay.
The smart glasses.
Hmm.
I would want an app in my smart glasses to be able to take a photo of a student or a colleague or whoever and register their name with the picture and maybe even their title or any identifying information, so that the next time I see that person with my own glasses on, that I'll look at you and then, Kelsey Peterson would show up on the top of my lens and only I'd be able to read it. And if we had a conversation about something, like it would say, Kelsey, like the last time you talked, it was maybe about the Signals podcast. I would say, Kelsey, how's the Signals podcast going? And you would say, oh, it's going great. And I would be like, yes, I didn't have to remember your name or the context in which we last spoke, because it would just come to me from the goggles. And I've wanted this for a long time because I'm usually bad with names. I'm good with faces and bad with names. And I feel like that would help a lot of people.
I think so too. So it's a memory tool, but it's there to assist your human connection.
Yeah, it's almost like your contacts list on your phone.
Yeah.
But that contacts list would be triggered by facial recognition. So when you went to your contacts list on your phone, maybe it would be the picture that the glasses took. Mm-hmm. And the glasses would just know that when you look at somebody, that their name would just kind of show up in very small text for you to read. So I might have just given away a multi-million-dollar app, but
yeah, I'll get right to work on it.
Right.
Well, that's such a fun idea. I hope that happens for you. I'm sure that somebody is working on it, so I'll keep an ear out. I'll let you know if I hear anything. Well, Nic, thank you so much, and good luck with the accessibility project. If anybody would like to learn more about what y'all are doing at Oakland and all of these ways that you're innovating and trying things out, where can they go to learn more?
You can contact me. Let's say oakland.edu/elis would be our website, and you can look me up from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelsey. I appreciate being here. Thanks for having me.